In 5 days, everything changes. July 23rd, 2026. Season 4 of Killing Floor 3. The most significant update the game has received since launch, and the lore details confirmed this week alone are already changing how we understand everything this series has covered. If you're new here and have never watched any previous video in this series, you are in exactly the right place. We are going to cover everything Season 4 is bringing, what each piece of new content means for the story, and what the community has been expecting since the roadmap first confirmed a new boss was coming in summer 2026. Let's get into it. What Season 4 was always going to be. Before we get into the specific content, it is worth understanding why Season 4 carries more weight than any previous update. Seasons 1 through 3 each added meaningful content. Season 1 launched the base game with 3 bosses, 7 maps, and 6 specialists. Season 2 brought DJ Scully, the fan-favorite Dutch underground DJ turned Zed Hunter, who has been part of this franchise since the very first game, back after 2 games of absence and introduced the prison map. Season 3, which arrived in March 2026 as Operation Deep Freeze, tracked Dr. Emmanuel Moorcroft, Horzin's increasingly unstable chief scientist who believes a substance called the Mire represents the next step in human evolution, all the way to Antarctica. That season introduced the Alpha Scavenger as a new boss, added Masterson III, the former Horzin chief of security who was scapegoated for the Claimfield outbreak and eventually joined Nightfall, and pushed the franchise's story into territory it had never explored before by describing Moorcroft's experiments as extra-dimensional. And just before Season 4 launches, Tripwire dropped one more surprise, a map called Onslaught, set inside Horzin's abandoned training grounds buried beneath a sewer system in a place called Umezu. The description says Horzin leveraged a sewer outbreak in Umezu to train personnel. Read that again. Horzin used a real Zed outbreak in a real location to train its security personnel. Not a simulation, not a controlled test environment. An actual sewer system filling with actual Zeds while Horzin ran personnel through it. That single detail says everything about the company we have been covering across this entire series. A corporation that stored Zeds underneath its own employees' homes in Claimfield, without telling them, has also apparently been routing live outbreaks through civilian sewer systems as training exercises. The description adds that it did not go well. That tells you even Horzin's own training operations using their own products were producing outcomes they were not fully in control of. That is, the world Season 4 is about to launch into the oil rig, and why the lore attached to it changes everything. Season 4's confirmed new map is the oil rig, located in the North Sea. And the story detailed Tripwire revealed alongside it is the most significant new lore development in the franchise since Moorcroft's extra-dimensional experiments were first described in March. An oil drilling operation in the North Sea accidentally struck Mire. Moorcroft then seized the rig with his followers. Take a moment with that, an entirely separate operation, unconnected to Horzin or Moorcroft's direct research, was drilling in the North Sea and hit the Mire. Not in an Horzin facility, not in a controlled research environment, in an oil field, in the middle of the ocean. This confirms something the series has been building towards since we first started asking what the Mire actually is. The Mire is not just something Horzin produced in a laboratory. It exists in the world independently. It can be struck by accident the way oil can be struck by accident, which means it is a naturally occurring substance, or at least something distributed through the environment in ways that conventional industry can accidentally reach without knowing what they are reaching for. And Moorcroft, the man described as becoming increasingly unstable as a result of his own extra-dimensional experiments in Antarctica, did not wait for Horzin to respond to the North Sea discovery. He seized the rig himself with his followers, not as a Horzin operation. Personally, which suggests that whatever happened in Antarctica, whatever the extra-dimensional experiments actually produced, Moorcroft's relationship with Horzin as an institution has fundamentally shifted. He is no longer operating as the company's chief scientist following corporate protocols. He is operating as something closer to an independent actor using whatever resources and followers he has accumulated to pursue whatever he found at the bottom of the world. And for a man who this story has been comparing to Kevin Clemedy across multiple seasons, personally seizing a location where the Mire was accidentally discovered is exactly the kind of escalation that precedes the moment a brilliant scientist stops being a person the story is building toward and becomes the thing the story has been warning you about. Moorcroft is not studying the Mire anymore, he is racing toward it. The Gunslinger perk and what it actually means, Season 4 brings back the Gunslinger perk. a fan favorite from Killing Floor 2 that emphasizes precision aiming and dual-wielding pistols, finally returning after players have been asking for it since before KF3 launched. The Gunslinger's return is worth talking about beyond just fan service. In Killing Floor 2, the perk was defined by a specific philosophy: precise, controlled, efficient. 2 pistols, both hands, 1 target at a time. That philosophy maps directly onto what Nightfall as an organization represents. 6 specialists, coordinated, deliberate, fighting a corporation with effectively unlimited resources, not through overwhelming force but through precision and strategy. The Gunslinger coming back in Season 4 alongside a new boss and a new map set on an offshore oil rig suggests the game is specifically designing encounters that reward precision targeting and mobility over heavier weapon class approaches. An oil rig in the middle of the North Sea is a tight, vertical industrial environment. Corridors, platforms, ladders, exactly the kind of space where a fast, precise dual pistol specialist becomes far more valuable than someone dragging a minigun through a narrow doorway. The timing of this perk's return is almost certainly intentional. The new boss, the question everything comes down to. Here is where we have to be honest about what we know and what we are still waiting to find out. The roadmap confirmed a new boss for Season 4. The identity of that boss has not been officially confirmed as of this video going up. The community's strongest evidence points in one direction. Synthetic, the voice actor of the Patriarch, Kevin Clemley, the founder of Horzin, who tried to clone his dead son, accidentally created the most dangerous bioweapon in history and then transformed his own body into a massive armored creature rather than face accountability, has been confirmed to be involved with KF3 through cast listings and credits. The community tracked down a voice actor attached to a game with no confirmed appearance, yet almost always means an appearance is planned. And now the oil rig lore adds something that changes the Patriarch conversation significantly. The Mire being struck accidentally in the North Sea, the same substance Moorcroft has been using to create the most advanced Zeds in the franchise's history, is now loose in an offshore location that Moorcroft has personally seized with his followers. If the Patriarch has been out there for 70 years, continuing to modify himself, and the Mire represents a new vector for biological enhancement that even Kevin Clemley never had access to during his original self-transformation, then the oil rig becoming Moorcroft's personal operation is exactly the kind of location where those two threads could converge. A man who spent decades becoming the most dangerous bioengineered creature in the franchise's history, gaining access to a substance that rewrites biology at a level his original self-modification never reached. That is not a coincidence of timing. That is a story setting up its most significant moment. Season 4 drops in 5 days. And whatever the new boss turns out to be, the implications connect directly to every piece of lore this series has covered from the very first video. What Season 4 means for the story we have been telling. If you have been watching this series from the beginning, from the full story video through the Mire, Moorcroft, Horzin, Nightfall, the Zeds, the 70-year gap, the Claimfield outbreak, the complete franchise timeline, the outbreak comparison, and the unanswered questions, you already know that every video has been building toward the same convergence. Kevin Clemley started this. Moorcroft is repeating it. Cordelia is trying to end it. Season 4 arriving in 5 days is the moment those threads get pulled tighter than they have been at any point since the game launched a year ago. An oil drilling operation accidentally striking Mire in the North Sea is not a random map setting. It is the franchise making a statement about the Mire that changes what we understood it to be, not just a substance Moorcroft was developing in a secret Antarctic facility. Something that exists in the world that industry can reach by accident. That an increasingly unstable scientist with his own private following seized control of the moment someone else found it first. That is not a researcher pursuing a theory anymore. That is a man who has crossed into something the story has been building towards since Operation Deep Freeze first described his experiments as extra-dimensional. And Cordelia Clemley, the woman who sold $52 billion of Horzin stock and built Nightfall specifically to fight the company her grandfather founded, is now sending 6 people into an oil rig in the North Sea to face whatever Moorcroft has become. 3 generations, 1 family, 1 company, 1 war that just escalated in ways nobody fully predicted 5 days before Season 4 drops. What comes next for this series the moment Season 4 is live and the new boss is confirmed? This channel covers every detail. The new boss gets its own dedicated lore video, the oil rig gets its own full story breakdown, the Mire existing naturally in the world rather than just in Horzin's labs, gets the analysis it deserves. And if the Patriarch returns, his complete arc from KF1 through KF2 through 70 years of absence into 2091, gets the treatment it has been waiting for since this series started. Subscribe so you do not miss any of it, and drop a comment right now. The oil rig accidentally striking Mire in the North Sea is the detail that changes everything about how we understand the Mire itself. Does it change how you think about what Moorcroft has actually been chasing this whole time? Because it changes things significantly for me. Tell me what you think before Season 4 shows us the answer.